Can you beat Pizza Tower without Mach Running? No. Sort of. So to give some background, Pizza Tower is a game which is all about going fast. If you can't run fast, you're going nowhere slow. The biggest hurdle keeping you from walking everywhere are metal blocks that you need to run fast enough in order to break. The first two speeds, Mach 1 and Mach 2, are too slow to do much of anything. But once you hit at least Mach 3, metal blocks can be destroyed upon side impact. But like I said, you can't beat Pizza Tower without Mach Running. That being said, this is not going to be a minimum Mach Runs video. Another channel called Sketchy the Noob already did that, and even if they didn't, I don't want to do this challenge with Pepino anyway. See, when I said sort of, it's because even though I can't Mach Run, there's two ways this could be looked at. The act of Mach Running at all, or pressing the button that tells the game to wind the action up. The former is impossible, but the latter is also impossible. Unless we use the noise. With him, we can perform moves that see him spin out. This can be done whether it's cancelling his super jump, crusher jump, or pressing grab after we hit a wall. And if we press the jump button during this animation, Noise will assume a Mach Run state, allowing us to, you guessed it, break metal blocks. And we can preserve this state so long as we keep jumping before we hit the ground. If we allow this, well, call it clickbait, but it's about the closest we'll ever get to beating the game without Mach Running. At least we're not pressing the Mach Run button, right? Now P-rank it. Okay. Wait, really? So let's go over all 20 of the levels and look at them from easiest to hardest. While there are a fair few metal blocks to be found in the Pick City, not a single time do you have to rely on your own techniques to break them, as making contact with a handcuff will have them swing around the noise and break metal blocks for you. The literal only difference between this level with Mach Running and without it is the speed you can go, which isn't a notable disadvantage. This is because you can still maintain a comfortable speed through the tornado, which is at least comparable to running in Mach 3, if not as fast. And you can even travel faster by boosting if you're skilled with the inputs. I'm not, but it's noteworthy. By far the easiest level in the run. So this is a level that saw me have to re-record my successful attempt due to an error when recording. Sad because I got a P rank pretty quickly here due to the fact that there is not a single metal block you need to break thanks to the rockets found here. It's mighty ironic since War does have a fair few areas where you'll want to slow down despite the time limit. But just consistent play here gets you extremely far, as the time limit is enough to complete 2 laps, and it's alarmingly easy to make up lost time when you're actually on lap 2, thanks to losing the minigun that removed your best tool to pick up speed. Natural difficulty can only get this level so far too, as it's surprisingly easy to keep your combo up here. Just don't be afraid to taunt really, but otherwise, you're pretty good to go. Metal blocks are practically non-existent, so this level is essentially as easy to P-rank as ever. The most I can give for advice is to be careful when leaving the Western District, as if you plummet to the lava below, you're toast. So jump the gap and you'll be fine, so long as you make sure to zoom from there on out. Despite the abundance of metal blocks here, most of them can be destroyed using the crusher jump. And the ones that can't are not difficult to break in general, or can just be ignored entirely. One even has a boost pad right in front of it, so just ride it and jump and it should break. I just have to warn you to not follow the beaten path too closely for the second secret, or you'll be sandwiched between a boost pad and a metal block, and will have to use some techniques to escape it. Otherwise, yeah, this is pretty easy by comparison. So something sad to share is I managed to P-rank Pizza Escape on my first try when recording attempts for this challenge. I was live streaming these attempts before, but issues with lag from recording and streaming made that not viable. Despite first trying this level though, I forgot to click record, so more chances to fail. A couple of metal blocks early on can be annoying since they're so tight, but being early in the level means they can easily be retried. Nothing here is too hard, and there are no metal blocks to worry about come pizza time, so it's a relatively easy P-rank to accomplish. Since you're still watching, be aware that my dad told me I need to tell you to subscribe if you enjoyed the video. I want to get to 10,000 subscribers by the end of 2024, so let's see if it happens. The addition of rockets here makes this level relatively easy, as most metal blocks in your way can be smashed with it. Rats and asteroids also take the role of metal blocks for the most part, so there really isn't a need for many techniques to get through. The third secret really is the only time metal blocks will demand breaking them on your own power, and then those just need some buffered jumps on your part through the teleporters to break the two in your way, and the crusher jump for the final one. Only 2 metal blocks exist throughout the entire level, and the first is at the very beginning with an enemy appearing shortly after, so your P-rank attempts won't ever get thwarted by them. There are other metal blocks later, but they're in the third secret, which has boost pads everywhere, so you're not getting stopped by them. And the only other one is just the way into the first secret, where all I really have to say is to avoid sliding unless you want to suffer. And instead, just rely on your Death Tornado, as it lets you jump more quickly, which is pretty important with how the secret is designed. Most of this level is devoid of metal blocks, but you will need to use a few techniques to get into the secrets, as all 3 of them are behind them. The first one demands you travel slowly to make it underneath the tunnel, so that you can super jump over the present and make your way inside. And the second and third ones just need a buffered jump to make your mark. Those aside, there's a rare instance of a metal block that's at the slope as opposed to the bottom. Buffering jumps once again is advised. Now let's be like an eagle and fly out of here. Despite being the first level in the game, John Gutter is actually a pretty challenging one when Mach Running isn't an option. There is actually a lot of metal blocks to break, some being fairly late into the stage. Fortunately, jumps can be buffered when you're spinning before you hit the ground, which ends up being critical for most metal blocks. But even then, you need proper spacing to not bounce into the wall and be forced to retry before your combo expires, especially if the metal block is at a lower elevation where the noise needs to jump down to reach it. Pizza time, however, is where this level's difficulty skyrockets, as there's a metal block in the tunnel where you don't have the room to jump. So you need to either set up a Death Tornado or a super jump and then immediately spin and jump to break the block before it's too late. And even if you manage to pull this off, another roadblock exists in the third secret where several metal blocks stand in your way. Almost all of them require being broken. I recommend leaving the bonus points for if you need more time, so you can take more cracks at the block if necessary. If you can pull this off, you should be fine. So, this level was interesting. More so for the Top and Girls mod I was using in the level itself though. The metal blocks, no doubt, were a nuisance, especially before even being able to reach the second secret, but this just seemed to be a level where trying to go super fast ended up being more of a hindrance than anything else anyway. Pretty much every time I got jump scared was because I thought I had to go as fast as possible when that ended up seeing me get shocked and caught. Though it's easy to see why when you're often timed, and it isn't even by your combo meter should a top-end monster be awoken. The lack of enemies that try to attack you otherwise makes this fairly easy to keep your combo if you're good at avoiding the top-end monsters. And a little preemptive play around the Clownmados will serve you well. Apparently I only barely had enough points for a P rank as I was making my way out though, so be sure not to skip out on those kills. Guess that's a pretty significant drawback to the top-end monsters not being counted towards increasing your combo counter. The other enemies that do give points upon death give less due to a lower combo. Kinda unfortunate really. You're probably wondering, by the way, where the bosses are in this challenge. See, you're not only not required to ever Mach Run for bosses, but you're actually discouraged from Mach Running when fighting them. They're designed where you need to pay attention to your surroundings, and they can't be hit whenever you want, so you're supposed to take them more slowly. So yeah, I'm just not going to be showing bosses because there's literally nothing about them that's made harder under this challenge's rules. A few metal blocks later in the Land of the Dead serve to be pretty gnarly obstacles. Honestly, what this level lacks in length, it makes up for in the type of metal blocks you're forced to smash, as the ceilings are small, and the resources available to keep your combo from going kaput are pretty minimal. At least the secrets are pretty easy to handle, and the heavy focus on ghost noise, which... should we dub him the Ghostly Whale in honor of Danny Phantom? Well anyway, the heavy focus on ghost noise means a lack of run killers, though you can rest assured that the few that exist have caused a fair share of resets. Oh boy, this'll be fun. You can expect to find metal blocks all over the map. and just about all of them are difficult to hit for one reason or another, due to either needing good timing or precise aim without a means of keeping your combo alive. Essentially, here is where consistency becomes key. It's also worth mentioning that the first secret is blocked behind a metal block, or at least an object that acts like one. You don't have much of a margin for error either. Once you reach the UFO though, you still have a number of metal blocks in here to destroy, which are only made harder by the many cows crowding the area and wasting your time. And it's a metal block you need to align yourself to hit, as it's down a really deep slope. Just don't forget that even after you break it, you're not home free yet, as there's a second metal block you have to break. There's finally one last metal block during pizza time leading you to the third secret, but since there's a spawner with Kentucky Kenny's, there's considerably less pressure here to go fast, so that's nice. Ugh, this place. Metal blocks aside, this level is also just really freaking long. I recommend taking care of the metal block closing off lap 2 before making any actual attempts here, because as difficult as the obstacles are to smash here are, you don't want to choke at the very end. Its saving grace is that the hardest metal blocks are all near the beginning, but there's still the second secret, which you'll need to turn around and buffer a jump for, so don't forget. Don't also forget that you don't need to Mach Run on the water leading to Pillar John, which I forgot once when doing attempts. Just walking on the edges and jumping to attack can work fine. Besides those, this level has another obstacle that persists even on lap 2, the rushing water just after the sausage topping. Normally you just hold the Rock Run button and glide over it like nothing, but if you don't hold it, it'll spike you upwards and force you to try again. So you'll need to chain several jumps over the water in order to clear it. In addition to this level's length, the potential to choke here is pretty high, and I don't think it can be owed to the gnarly odor Theoda is giving off. Among the hardest levels for this challenge, Ancient Cheese is brutal. Metal blocks are everywhere here, including most of the secrets available. What I do is try to break the metal blocks obstructing the way forward as early as possible, as they're often a source of chokes when trying to keep moving. So I break both the metal block leading to the locked door, and the metal block leading to the crossroad for Jerome and the key. This leads us to the first secret, where there's disappearing cheese blocks that you have to repeatedly jump over in order to keep your speed, or the metal block leading to the exit will stop you cold. Not only do you have to repeatedly buffer several jumps to get out, you need to aim well to hit the metal block so you can escape. So safe to say, this often leads to failure. Getting past this hurdle is hard enough, but Pizza Time has its own obstacles, where there's yet another metal block that you need to break just after Pillar John, as well as the third secret, which has several more metal blocks required to be broken. The final one, meanwhile, is an absolute nightmare. The way this room is set up, you have almost no room to actually achieve a Mach Run state, let alone break the metal block. Being in a small room is bad enough, but what makes our usual method of achieving Mach 3 impossible is the slope leading down into the metal block, as we now can't reach the ground to jump and will always bounce into the wall. Basically, we're going to need a new technique in order to proceed. And against the wishes of my stream chat who just wanted me to give up, I kept trying until I found that you can spin out immediately before a slope to reach Mach 3 immediately, so you can turn around and buffer a jump to break metal blocks. The problem is trying to replicate this consistently, as the easiest way to pull this off involves a tornado, and your spacing has to be precise so that you can actually align yourself. But because you have to move the control stick in one direction to spin, and then reverse it immediately after spinning, it's easy to accidentally spin in the opposite direction. And I thought this would be an awful time, before then learning that the direction the noise hits the wall from will be the direction he'll face while spinning. So I'm able to keep the control stick in a neutral position before going on to spin and later push the stick in the proper direction, making short work of the metal block. With no more obstacles before the exit, we just have to do 2 laps of Ancient Cheese and we can close it out. Refrigerator, Refrigerador, Freezerator has got to be one of the most annoying levels to study without being a level I'd actively consider obnoxious. And that's because, for the problems it gave me, it's actually only one particular metal block that makes this place a hellhole. Most metal blocks actually are avoidable because of the hot chocolate the noise sucks down at the beginning of the level. Instead, they're just ice blocks which you can spin through to break. Not the Death Tornado spin, mind you, but the jetpack. Now this was a level I was considering using swap mode for, as I didn't know at first a way to consistently get past the 2 metal blocks here. Yes, there are only 2 metal blocks that we need to focus on. The first one we'll discuss is the one just after the tomato topping. There's a pretty steep slope leading to the only real way out, so we just need to align ourselves, buffer it up, and be done, right? Yeah, this is actually an obstacle we cannot hope to buffer a jump for, because if we press the jump button in midair, the noise will spin in the air. Great for ice blocks, but effectively useless against metal. And this is where this level gets dire, because you can still break it, but to do so would require a frame-perfect jump input just as you hit the ground. I don't think I need to tell you that pressing jump on one specific frame on command is something you can just do without a way to set it up. And there are 2 metal blocks here, so we would have to do this again not much later in the level. And bear in mind, we at least get a pizzicle here to refresh our combo counter if it gets low. No such luxury later on, but the key word is would. As luck would have it, a boost pad is positioned just above the slope where the metal block is, so we're actually able to buffer a jump while on the ground by tapping jump after we turn around. That much is awesome. As far as the second one, however, slightly less awesome. There is no help for here, and the myriad of miseries this caused me the few times I did make it past were something I could not keep count of, with the times enemies would kill my runs as I made my descent through the freezer. Clearly, I needed an alternative route to make this work. As for what that option ended up being, well, let's just say I took inspiration from the internet. While I was recording attempts at this level, another Pizza Tower content creator by the name of Gengar Animations was uploading runs through this game, where he was P-ranking levels while a Pizza Face was chasing him from start to finish. And he shared a technique that allowed him to clear the 3 ice blocks under the rails without losing his combo. His inputs involved holding jump so he'd fly upwards, while holding down so that he'd lock his vertical movement, but be able to move horizontally as much as needed. And this is the strategy I adopted for here, allowing me to eventually make my way down the clearly unintended way, but necessary to make this level realistically doable. Beyond the many enemies trying to ruin our run, there's not much keeping us from the Satan's Choice pizza slice where we... After all of that, and my laptop black screens for 2 whole minutes with noise stupidly walking to the right of the pizza. This was on my best attempt. And I'd then go on to have 2 runs where the P rank was in sight, killed for 2 different reasons. Screw off, refrigerator. This level is actually very unfun, as there's an abundance of annoying metal block locations from the word go. We're fairly familiar with the one just before the Jerome secret door, which touches the ceiling, so you naturally don't have much room to set up to break it. There's also 2 surrounding the first secret and the way forward to the rest of the level, but neither are particularly challenging, and no more appear until after pizza time starts, where we venture into the 3rd secret. Oh god, this secret is just awful. The major problem here are the Pisantos. They throw torches up to hit you, and if they do, you catch fire much like making contact with the lava in Bloodsaw's dungeon. And there are several metal blocks you're forced to break to escape the secret if you want to P-rank this place. Achieving a spin-out Mach Run under a tight space is hard enough to do once, but you have to do it not once, not twice, but thrice if you want to make it out of here. And you can't really afford to fail even once, since the Pesantos often are going to get killed on your way through. I theorized that you can probably bail early if you break the first metal block on the way up, but I sadly can't do it. So basically, this whole level is a choke point because of this one stinking secret you have to do. It'd otherwise not really be that awful. Though speaking of blood sauce, the number of metal blocks in Blood Sauce Dungeon is honestly comical because they're pretty much everywhere. Some are even disguised so that you can't tell where they are. Yeah, this is hell, alright. The first of note is the one blocking the first secret. There are several ways you can tackle it, but I just Death Tornado and spin over to it. There's no metal blocks in the actual secret, but it at least gives a taste for what's to come. And what's to come is by no means fun. The inverse of the first secret would be the second one, where no metal blocks need to be broken to access it, but there are a couple within it. And the problem here is a combination of a drought of points in between the two metal blocks, and the number of hazards that would nearly guarantee your combo's demise if you make contact. I'm talking about the lava coating the ground. Touch it, and it's highly unlikely you'll be continuing your attempt unless you save a big topping before the first metal block. That's because there's just nothing in between the two, so you have to immediately break the second one to then clear the second secret's roadblock before finally escaping. And since this is still fairly early in the level, you still have a number of sinisterly stationed steel squares stopping Senior Sound's stroll, including a few once you actually make it to the bottom just before and after the sausage topping, including one more metal block at the very end before Pillar John in a room with pizza cutters on both sides. Even after toppling him over, you're not in the clear yet, as you now have to run 2 laps, which quickly shows itself how slow Theodore actually moves when you're constantly bumping into walls trying to claw your way out. I've even had an attempt happen where I was so slow trying to get out that Pizza Face managed to appear and take me out. This is what happens when you can't Mach Run on top of being unable to scare enemies reliably amidst the many hazards put in place to slow you down. My successful attempt actually saw me stall the timer when it was clear I wouldn't make it out in time, so that I could juke Pizza Face and bolt out like a bat out of hell. And I only barely made it out, shaking like a leaf with a heart racing at a mile a minute. I didn't even get the pineapple topping. But yes, I did go back for it. Toppings are priceless, just like my channel members. They give me money and motivation to keep making videos, so thank you for your continued support. I now hate Peppybot Factory. No other level is synonymous with precision as this soulless and calculated death trap. With so many metal blocks all over the level and the downright sadistic lack of leniency you're given, I struggle to think of a level much more difficult than this one. Just the first metal block is not only barely tucked under a ceiling, but you can't risk undershooting or getting too close despite the awkward angle with the electrical hazards just underneath. On the bright side, at least you have a means of retrying if you miss and don't get hurt thanks to the nearby enemies. Metal blocks afterwards basically demand you learn to buffer jumps, as you're now fighting against conveyor belts that can often go in the opposite direction you're heading. So you need to set up a Mach Run well before you jump where you need to, before pivoting and continuing on. It's kinda funny actually how many metal blocks are also before boost pads. The hands that drag you through parts of the level, much like the third secret in Deep Dish 9, require approaching them while in a Mach Run state to break the metal blocks in the area. Not only to proceed, but also to get Jerome. And you'll want to be quick, because at least once in this place, you will have to hit one after the other with the lack of toppings in some areas. Once you make it through this labyrinth though, you're still not safe, as once pizza time starts, you still have one more metal block you have to break to make it to the final secret. And oh boy did this catch me off guard. Yeah, as if the mechanical marathon wasn't bad enough, the level has the gall to do this. It may be worth saving a super taunt and some enemies on the floor above to hit this if need be. At least the Peppibots themselves mean your combo won't die anytime soon when they're in a group. At least unless you're trying to play catch up. Welcome to the Shadow Realm. Pizza Scare is a level designed to completely and utterly screw you over. Most enemies here can't be damaged without either an Exorcist or a Super Taunt. And this leads to a number of losses just out the gate, as we have a metal block in the second room with not nearly enough enemies to work with to get the ladder and not enough space to wind up a chain of jumps to break through. As early as this obstacle may be, it's far from the only, and I'm not just talking about metal blocks either. The metal block immediately after is surrounded by anchors the ghost that haunts you can possess, which demands that you not only have sharp timing to break the block, but also to avoid getting hurt. And the point buffer here is actively offset by the fact that if you get hurt, you're unlikely to be able to save your combo due to both recoil and the distance the points that save you tend to be from you. It's here where there's a fair amount of time before you encounter any other metal blocks, but you're going to struggle to keep your combo alive in this wasteland with all of the hazards looking to shut you down. There's even a stray ghost knight looking to stab you if you're not careful. You essentially want to lean heavily on the few resources you have. Attempts can be salvaged by super taunting ghosts when the drought of points happens, and exorcists are an invaluable resource to make strikes and metal blocks more manageable. Even with those gone, the absolute swarm of enemies that try to end you are still as formidable as ever, with Peachers and Bad Rats being the worst among them. You are at a very real risk of just losing to taking damage at a bad time, especially if you tend to let your lack of speed define you where the many Ghost King traps lurk. And they don't all happen before pizza time either. I've even had it happen once where an attempt died because, believe it or not, I was going too fast. In short, this level is all one big choke point, and it's probably the only level where the difficulty comes a lot more from the natural challenge this level provides than the optional challenge for this video. Yeah, this level's impossible. Okay, let me try to break down Crust Cove for you all. In this level, the barrel when entered demands you press the button assigned to Mach Run in order to roll. That on its own should tell you all you need to know. But still, maybe you believe an exception should be made, as you're technically not pressing the Mach Run button with the intent to Mach Run. So if you're interested, I will talk about this level assuming that train of thought. Given that, I will say Crust Cove does have some pretty tough areas. The water here, much like in Oh Shoot, will spring you upwards if you make contact, so jumping while in a Mach Run state is pretty necessary to travel across the water. After entering the first barrel and reaching the first priest, you have to break a metal block under a bit of ceiling in order to proceed. A pretty stiff challenge, but it can at least be retried fairly easily, as there's a goblin you can super taunt to keep your combo fresh for longer. The hardest part of the level, though, has got to be the second secret. This secret is evil. Touching the water will instantly fail your attempt if you can't while in a Mach Run state. And because the secret is concealed behind what functions as a metal block, it isn't as simple as leaping over the water and dashing into it. You'll bounce up and it's a one-way platform, meaning you can't go back. I've experimented with many different ideas to try and make the secret accessible. None of my ideas worked, but it is possible. I didn't figure it out though, but one of my most ardent viewers did. The Looney Mooney actually figured out this could be done by dashing and jumping over the water as a means to gain distance, then reversing with the crusher jump and dashing again to hit the ground while narrowly avoiding the water. You can then buffer a jump and hold the opposite direction, allowing you to jump on the water as if you were in a Mach 3 state, to slam into the secret and start it properly. This was a massive find, as it now means every level is possible in this challenge. Big ups! Navigating the second secret is another beast entirely though, as the water here acts like the piranha water outside. Because I want to spend as little time here as possible, I reasoned to just jump on the narrow slab of ground just before the metal block that must be broken to escape, so I can turn around and get out. Probably not the smartest idea, seeing how the farthest attempt I had that wasn't a P rank saw me nearly fail several times. But at least all of the big toppings to be grabbed here meant I had a fair amount of leeway to try this. After this obstacle though, the rest of the level is fairly straightforward. A very beginning loaded level with an unfortunate gimmick, but well, at least it's possible to beat the game even without this level being attempted. In terms of difficulty, I'd say it falls somewhere between Oh Shoot and maybe Ancient Cheese, but I can also understand finding this harder. I wouldn't say it's harder than Refrigerator though. I don't really know how to end this video, so click another challenge I did on the screen and watch it. The more you watch, the better, and yeah, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed.